The story begins in a quiet American town called Riverside, surrounded by golden fields and long dusty roads. There lived a young man named Ethan Cole, 27 years old, tall, quiet, and broken inside. He had once dreamed of becoming a professional athlete, a marathon runner who could inspire the world. But 3 years ago, a car accident shattered his right leg and with it, his spirit. Now, he works in a small gas station, cleaning cars and serving coffee to truck drivers. Every night, he stares at his reflection in the cracked mirror of his trailer home and whispers to himself, "Maybe this is all I deserve." But deep inside him, something still burns, a quiet fire, a dream that refuses to die. One cold evening, as rain poured down the empty highway, an old man walked into the gas station. He wore a faded military jacket, his hands trembling from the cold. Ethan offered him a cup of hot coffee for free. The old man smiled. "You remind me of myself, son, back when I was lost too." They talked for hours. The man's name was Mr. Jordan, a retired marathon coach. He told Ethan stories of champions, people who had failed, fallen, but risen again. Before leaving, he said something that would change Ethan's life forever. "The race is never over until you stop running. Sometimes, the last mile of pain is where the miracle begins." Ethan couldn't sleep that night. He kept hearing those words echoing in his mind. The last mile, the last mile. The next morning, Ethan dusted off his old running shoes. His legs still ached, but his heart was stronger than the pain. At dawn, he stepped outside and began to run, slow, shaky, but determined. Every step felt like fire in his bones. Every breath was a battle. Neighbors watched and whispered, "Isn't that the guy who lost his leg in the crash? Poor kid, he'll never be the same." But Ethan didn't listen. He wasn't running to prove them wrong. He was running to find himself again. Weeks turned into months. Ethan trained every morning before sunrise, then worked at the gas station during the day. He ate cheap food, slept in his trailer, and trained with a heart full of hope and doubt. Sometimes he'd fall on the gravel road, scraping his knees. But every time, he'd get up and whisper, "This isn't the end. This is just another mile." He started recording his runs and posting them online. People began to notice. A few followers turned into hundreds, then thousands. They called him the Broken Runner. But Ethan didn't see himself as broken anymore. He saw himself as reborn. One day, Ethan received an email that made his hands tremble. It was from the Boston Marathon Committee. They had seen his videos. They wanted to invite him to run in the marathon, not as a competitor, but as a symbol of hope. Ethan couldn't believe it. Boston, the biggest race in America. Him, a gas station worker with a metal plate in his leg. He smiled through tears. Maybe this is my last mile." The night before the marathon, Ethan sat alone in his small hotel room. Outside, the city buzzed with excitement. He looked down at his old shoes, worn, torn, but still holding together. He closed his eyes and remembered the accident, the pain, the darkness. And the words of Mr. Jordan. "The last mile of pain is where the miracle begins," he whispered. "Tomorrow, I run not to win, but to finish." The race began. Thousands of runners surged forward, their shoes slapping the wet pavement. Ethan started slow, his legs stiff and heavy. But as the miles went by, something beautiful happened. Crowds started chanting his name. "Go, Ethan! Go, Broken Runner!" Children waved flags with his name. Reporters followed him live on TV. The man who once thought his life was over was now inspiring millions. At mile 20, his leg cramped. Pain shot up his body. He fell to his knees. The crowd gasped. A medic rushed over. "Son, you need to stop. You can't continue." But Ethan looked up, breathing hard. He whispered through tears. The race is never over until you stop running. And he stood up, one painful step at a time. Step by step, he limped forward. The crowd began to cheer louder. By the last mile, everyone was on their feet. As Ethan approached the finish line, the sun broke through the clouds. Tears streamed down his face. He crossed the line, arms raised, heart bursting. No trophy. No medal. But a standing ovation that shook the entire city. Reporters crowded around him. Ethan, how did you do it? Why didn't you give up? He smiled, voice trembling. Because I realized something. The real finish line isn't out there. It's in here. He points to his heart. The moment you stop believing in yourself, that's when the race truly ends. Months later, Ethan started a non-profit foundation called The Last Mile Project, helping injured athletes, war veterans, and anyone who had lost hope. His story spread across America in schools, podcasts, and motivational shows. Even Hollywood called to make a movie about him. But Ethan didn't care about fame. Every morning, he still woke up before sunrise and ran down that same road in Riverside, the road where it all began. In the end, Ethan's voice narrates softly over cinematic music. If you've fallen, get up. If you've lost everything, start again. Life isn't about speed, it's about direction. Don't let pain define you. Let it refine you. Because somewhere out there, your last mile is waiting. And it might just be your greatest one.